So I've got Bruce, Kirk, Rich, Sarah, Susan, Stacy, and Brett.
Why don't I see Kirk? Oh, there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
It's 5.
and maybe Charlie. Is Charlie going to be on the phone, or is he?
He's going to be zooming.
I just sent him the link to Zoom in. And
There's Brett.
It's much easier when we had no alternates for only one.
Is Sue alternate or is she full member?
I'm sorry.
Susan's
I
the
see
alternate.
Charlie now.
Stacy and Brett. Still.
Good evening.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 full time right now without the alternates.
And Susan, is she an alternate?
Yes.
She's an alternate.
so
So we,
on YouTube and it's recording us. We're good to go.
Charlie.
Brett technically is still. So can we see both of them?
So Peter, you can seat at the moment all 3 alternates. Mike
Okay.
Gavecchia will be here
After 8, probably.
What about Ed?
later in the
Ed-
meeting, and then at that point in time, one of the alternates could step down.
Okay. Sounds about right. So everybody who's here right now constitutes the working quorum for the meeting. So everybody, good evening. I'm Peter Burnett, I'm the chair of the Laconia Planning Board. And we are holding this meeting, in case you were wondering, electronically due to the coronavirus crisis and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 and executive order 2020-04. This board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note, there's no physical location to observe or listen to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency orders. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing the Zoom platform for this meeting, where all members of the board have the ability to communicate, and the public may watch the meeting live on YouTube at https://www.youtube.com/LaconiaNH, no spaces. And this is Zoom meeting 811-9910-6021. If you were trying to join us by Zoom, again, the meeting ID number is 811-9910-6021. And the phone number, if you wish to listen on the phone, is 1-312-626-6799. The agenda, as always, is found on the Agenda Center on the Laconia, City of Laconia's website. It's also, is that right? It's up on Zoom with the same meeting ID number. Okay, I lost my place here. All right, so if anybody has a problem accessing the meeting, please call 524-3877, extension 249, or send an email to planning@laconianh.gov. If in the event the public becomes unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and it will be rescheduled to another date and time. Please note that all votes taken tonight during this meeting shall be done by roll call. I will now call the meeting to order. Roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So could we have the call the roll, please?
Bruce Cheney.
I'm present in City Hall.
Charlie St. Clair.
Here alone.
Kirk Biotti.
Remote and alone.
Rich McNeil.
Remote and alone.
Sarah Jenna.
Remote and alone.
Susan Hodgkins. She's muted.
Remote and alone.
Brett Bellevue.
Remote and alone.
Stacy Susie.
Remote and alone.
Peter Burnett.
Remote and alone. Okay, great. The staff here this evening, Dean Trefethan, the Director of Planning and Economic Development, Robert Mora, Principal Planner, and Kalina Graham, our Administrator. Let's see. Have you all had a chance, I hope, to review the minutes from the previous meeting, the March 2nd meeting? If no one has any suggestions for changes, we will declare the minutes accepted. Any objection? I'm sensing none. We turn now to the topic of the Historic Overlay District. As you may or may not know, there is something called the Historic Overlay District in the downtown area, and there is a proposal to expand it. And I'm going to turn this over to whoever is doing this presentation.
While they're coming up, Peter, just a brief background here. The Historic District Commission has been meeting on a regular basis, and one of their topics of discussion has been to expand the district to include more of our historic buildings. And we have the Historic District Commission, some of the members here tonight to give you the presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Carl Reitz.
Good evening, Mr. Wright.
56 Cottonwood Avenue in Laconia. I'm a member of the commission, and I have been asked by the chairman of the commission, Tara Shore, who is unable to be with us tonight, to read her prepared comments as regard the proposal that we have in front of you tonight to
You may
extend.
proceed.
Excuse me?
I said you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to know whether or not all the members of the planning board have a copy of the overlay that's been prepared for this.
I don't with me.
Bruce does not have one. I have an extra one, Bruce, as it turns out.
And the
Because,
rest of us that are on Zoom are viewing it by shared screen.
oh, I was going to use the one on my screen and let you have mine, being the
No,
nice
we
guy
beat
that I
you to
am.
it.
I have it right here.
Good job, Bruce.
Found it.
I'm a technical wizard.
I know you are. As long as you got somebody helping you.
Yes. She goes home, I'm in trouble.
It's always been that way,
Yes.
as I remember. The Historic District Commission is proposing this change, and the map that we've shared with you will be referred to on several occasions during Tara Shore's presentation, which I'm about to read. But before I actually get into her presentation, I would like to introduce you to the well-heeled, if I will, members of the commission and give you just a one or two sentence comment about each one of them so that you can get a sense of their dynamic in this group. So Tara Shore is the chair of the Historic District Commission, and she is involved with the program and operations. She's the manager at the Belknap Mill. She's a 25-year resident. She has experience and general knowledge of preservation strategies and resources. Carl Reitz, I'm the vice chair. I'm the owner of Apple Mortgage LLC in Laconia Mortgage Brokerage Company. I've been doing that for 17 years. Former city of Laconia mayor. I've been in local banking for 45 years. Seems like a lot longer. I'm the former building code instructor for the city of Laconia and Laconia resident for over 50 years. I have a strong interest in Laconia's historic architecture and maintaining the city's diverse architectural appeal. Sonia, and I'm going to mispronounce it, Mishashik is the district commissioner as a member. She's the owner and architect of her named PLLC. She claims she's a transplant to the area, but since then, a 22-year resident of Laconia, interested in all types of buildings and communities, open space, and what ties them all together. Mark Haynes is a member of the Historic Commission. He is also a Ward 4 councilman, retired, lifelong resident with his wife Deb. They reside in the same house he grew up on Durkee Street. He lived through urban renewal, good for him, and would like to ensure Laconia does not lose its beautiful historic structures again. We're glad to have him on the committee. Charlie St. Clair, some of us know him. He's on the commission as a member as well. He's a planning board member. Some of you may know that, although we can't see him. I believe he's here in spirit. He's the executive director for Laconia Motorcycle Week Association, lifelong resident of Laconia. He's the owner of a local business in downtown. He believes strongly in preserving buildings of historical architecture and importance. And in quotes, he writes, "Preserving our history ensures our future." Very nicely done, Charlie. Hillary Martin is on the commission as an alternate member. She's a fourth grade teacher in Laconia and here present this evening. Would you stand so people can see who we're talking about? Thank you. Hillary Martin is a fourth grade teacher in Laconia at Elm Street School. She's a lifelong Laconia resident, raising a family in Laconia and interested in being an active member of her community in helping to preserve and honor Laconia's historical sites and increasing community education around Laconia's history. Laurel Brie, and I probably mispronounced that, is an alternate member as well on the Historic District Commission. She has a Master in Education in Heritage Studies. She has a certificate in Historic Preservation. She's an advocate for culture and history and a resident of downtown Laconia. So I'm grateful to be a part of that august body and thank them for their work and efforts in this commission. So you have the map. The historic district, this is now from Tara Shore. The historic district overlay was not created to make it impossible to make changes in our city. Its purpose is to ensure that the change is appropriate to the distinctive and noble character of Laconia. The Historic District Commission defends the character of the structures, places, and properties inside the established district. We promote restoration, rehabilitation, and adaptive reuse instead of demolition to ensure that the elements of our city's history, culture, and heritage remain intact. Following regulations and guidelines developed by the community, the HDC reviews proposals for alterations, new construction, and demolition on properties within the district, and in turn enhances the attractiveness of the overall district, as well as each property within it. Historic districts are tangible links to the past, bringing meaning to the history of communities and to people's lives. They preserve the character of structures and areas while welcoming growth and innovation within these spaces. The Laconia Heritage Commission has engaged the services of May Williams, historic preservationist, to complete an area historical survey of the Laconia downtown core. With the completion of the study, Laconia will have an inventory of properties of a certain age, normally at least 45 years old, and that retain reasonable architectural integrity. A survey of this type is most useful for quickly analyzing opportunities and constraints for future development as a part of a larger planning effort. To maintain consistency with this study and to continue to work collaboratively with the Heritage Commission in our combined goal of protecting Laconia's important structures, the outline for the proposed expanded historic district follows the same outline as May Williams Historical Survey. The renovation of the Colonial, the Belknap Mill, the Lakeport Opera House, the opposition of the possible demolition of St. Joseph's Church and 76 Lakeside Avenue, and the concern shared by many regarding the future of the Gardens Theater, the Masonic Building, and the Buzzell House. They clearly show that the citizens of Laconia recognize the importance of historic preservation to our community's identity and sense of place. They also recognize how restoration and reuse can strengthen our community's economic base and development. The vision in the 2018 master plan for Laconia states that Laconia will maintain a balance between our beautiful natural resources and continuing economic development for the benefit of current and future residents, businesses, and seasonal visitors, pardon me. The master plan speaks to land use practices and zoning and how those can be used to positively impact future development in Laconia over the next 10 or 15 years. It also mentions RSA 79-E, which is Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive, currently available to developers investing in real estate in Laconia. This property tax relief program encourages investment in municipal centers and rehabilitation of underutilized buildings within the city. The city is incentivizing rehabilitation over demolition, definition. I'm sure she intended to emphasize that the city is incentivizing rehabilitation over demolition using this tax relief incentive plan. Expanding the current historic district will incorporate the objectives of Laconia's vision as outlined in the city's master plan. It will support the establishment of a thriving urban environment that offers safe, attractive, and distinctive character. Property values and job creation are proven to be significantly impacted by historic preservation, although both are surpassed by the enormous economic impact it has on heritage tourism. That's a phrase that I wasn't familiar with. Heritage tourism. The related social impacts can include decreased criminal activity, increased housing supply, better quality of life, and increased pride in the community. An aesthetically cohesive and well-promoted district can be a community's most important attraction, and the results create more dynamic places in which to live, work, and play. And to conclude, the Laconia Heritage Commission has engaged, oh, we've got an extra here. Oh, excuse me. And this all submitted by our chairman. And this is done sincerely, Tara Shore, Chairman of Laconia Historic District Commission. And I will leave that with the recording secretary. Any questions? Didn't mean to go on all night, but she's the author, so.
Thank you, Mayor Wrights. I do have one question for you. On what basis were the buildings included in the proposed expanded zone selected?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Which buildings?
No, what criteria did you use to decide which buildings to include in the new zone or the expanded zone?
I think the easiest way to answer that might be to say that it wasn't a selection of a structure, rather than to say that it was to encourage an extension of the authority of the commission. In other words, if our goals are to improve the feasibility of proper restoration and reuse of property, we would like to do that instead of at such a tiny focused area. And if you look at your maps for just a moment, you'll see how tiny it was and specific in terms of buildings that were included. That's in the shaded brown area of this overlay. And it really included just a couple of buildings. And we believe that we offer so much to the community in general in terms of positive effect and hope to continue that. We felt that if we could take a larger chunk of the typically referred to as historic buildings, what we have done, as you look at the map in the new highlighted area, is to increase the number of buildings that have historical and usable use that we may be a part of saving. So
And I
did that answer
understand
your
that. Mayor.
question?
No.
Okay.
I think we would all like to know why the buildings that are within the proposed expanded zone were selected. Did you do an inventory of these buildings? Did you have an architectural historian look at them? By what criteria? All I'm hearing you saying is it's a much bigger space, and we know that.
Hi, I'm just joining Carl. I'm Hillary Martin, also of the Historic District Commission. I live at 62 Walker Street in Laconia.
Hello, welcome.
And I just was going to add a little bit to what he's already said and explained what our vision and our vision for the commission and the support of preserving the historic buildings in Laconia. We were
Thank you.
able to take what the Heritage District already commissioned May Williams to do in creating that inventory of historic properties in Laconia. And we were able to look at what she deemed historical. She is the one who created, May Williams, that's her last name, correct? Yes. The map of historically significant buildings in Laconia. So a lot of our planning for the expansion of this district came from the recommendation from her understanding of the buildings of historical significance. We also were able to look at the National Registry of Historical Buildings, which there are already 15 nationally registered historic buildings here in Laconia. By expanding the district, we can cover 9 of those buildings. And I don't have the list in front of me. I'm sorry, I'm underprepared. But 9 out of the 15 nationally registered historic buildings here in Laconia fall now under what would be the expanded district. So that was also part of our decision for expansion, what we could do with what was already nationally registered to make a more cohesive unit for our historic district here in Laconia.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions for the presenters this evening from the commission?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you may proceed, Ms. Susie.
I was just curious if there were any residential homes under the new proposal.
Ooh. Single-family residential structures
Yeah,
or residential use apartments. I'm not sure I understand the question. Is it single-family homes like the Buzzell home or?
actually both.
There are some apartments that are on upper floors of some of the commercial buildings. It does include the Bugio Mansion. And I believe that there may be, there's a bunch of condos on Water Street. And I believe there may be one single-family home also over on Water Street. It's predominantly commercial. Just so it's clear, the study that was commissioned to May Williams, she was given a parameter of what area to look at, and the Historic District Commission felt that it would be, as a starting point for the expansion, that it would be appropriate to use the same boundaries that she was using. And then we kind of tried to follow natural either geography or streets to keep the district, so you're not zigzagging out all and around different buildings. For instance, we recognize that the parking garage is within the district, and I don't think anybody is going to consider the parking garage to be historical or architecturally significant. But right across the street, of course, is the Mills. And so it's just an ease of a boundary for the Historic District Commission district to just include those buildings, recognizing that if something wanted to occur on those buildings, the Historic District Commission is not going to have any problem with people doing things to, like the parking garage or, those kinds of buildings.
Stacy, if I may, just a simple reply to your question as I understand it. Are there single-family residences in this district or proposal? The answer is no. Unless in front of that single-family use, it has commercial as indicated. So everything in that overlay would be considered commercial.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for the mayor or anyone else in his entourage?
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
So your next steps, Mr. Chairman, are to, if you desire, would be to schedule a public hearing at the next meeting for the public to comment on this proposal. You certainly could discuss it and debate it this evening, but you could not make any decisions until after a public hearing was held.
And I think I think we all would benefit from a little bit more information, because I'm still not really hearing an answer to the question by which criteria were these buildings selected, other than it increases the square footage. We know that. The Buzio House is already in the Historic Overlay District. That's not an ad. And there's 4 single family or duplexes on Water Street that were quite deliberately cut out of it. And I'm just wondering, what was the criteria? Is it brick construction or? So maybe we could put this on the agenda for further discussion at the next meeting. Is there some reason to be more hasty?
No. I just want to reiterate that the study being done by May Williams is there was a boundary that was set for that study so that she was not all over the city, but more focused. The proposed historic district that's before you mimics that same boundary for sake of ease, but she is cataloging the structures within that boundary area. We will have a report within a month or so from her on which buildings are significant from either an historical perspective or an architectural perspective, or potentially a cultural or heritage perspective as well. So yes, Mr. Chairman, you don't have to take action on it. You could discuss again at the next meeting if that's your prerogative.
No, I think, thank you for that clarification. That is kind of the answer. It occurs to me that whether or not the planning board would have to vote to recommend this to the city council tonight, I think that the proponents would want to be able to answer that question. Why did you select these buildings in particular before an ordinance, is changed at city council? So can we put it on the agenda as for the next meeting, the May meeting?
Yes.
Excellent. Anybody have, Chief?
Just going back to what Dean said at the beginning, should we make next month a public hearing and then we can just discuss it at that same time?
Well, if the commission is ready to make the presentation as to, or we have that report, I would think that it would be with a survey underway, it would be premature to hold the public hearing. But since we're doing this on Zoom, I don't see there's any harm in scheduling the public hearing. And that if we are still awaiting further information, then we can simply continue it to the next meeting. Does that sound reasonable to everyone? All right, if we're going to
Peter,
schedule it. Yes.
It's Charlie. I would like
Charlie.
to, I would like to have a public hearing on this sooner than later. I think the public will have commentary, maybe just on the whole idea of the zone, increasing it. And as far as the inventory goes and, the particular buildings, we're going to proceed with that anyway, but I really would like to, I'm just speaking personally, but I really would like to get a public hearing on that. We can always continue it if there's more people, but that's just my thought on it, Mr.
So
Chair.
is it your motion, Mr. St. Clair, that this matter be scheduled for a public hearing on the May meeting of this board?
Okay, I'd make a motion for that, sure. I'd like to see that.
Okay, is there a
I'll second
second?
it.
Is a second from the chief? Any discussion on the motion? All right, sensing none. Ms. Graham, may we have a call of the roll, please?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes,
Kirk Biatti,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Susan Hodgkins,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes, and before we move on, I would like to ask a question at the end of the vote. Thank you.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Yes, what was your question?
My question is probably for Dean. Dean, for simplicity, is there some way that, say, we could keep the footprint of the overlay district as it is, or adjusted slightly, whatever we decide after public hearing and stuff, but designate certain buildings within that footprint that do not fall under the jurisdiction of the historic district? So basically keep the footprint the same, but single out certain structures that really don't have a historic district, just so we don't end up with a patchwork district overlay?
The answer essentially would be no. And the reason for that is, and let me just use an extreme example to kind of make the point, if you will. The Bank of New Hampshire building, which is a lovely building, but it's very contemporary. If for some reason they came in and wanted to do something major to that building, either tear it down or replace it, or a major addition, or whatever it may be, while the building itself does not have that historical value, there are buildings next to it that potentially do. And so therefore you'd want to look at what the proposal is to see how it might affect adjoining buildings. And the same could be said for something like the parking garage, for instance. I don't think that if for some reason we were to tear down the parking garage, and it's my personal opinion, I don't think we want to replace it with a 6 or 7 story office building, or maybe we do, but I think we'd want to look at what the effect of a proposed replacement would be on the adjacent mills, as an example. And that's why you don't exclude any of the buildings within the district. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
That would be kind of like spot zoning. So, for example, if any one of the buildings in a particular municipality was used commercially for many years, but it happens to be in a residential district, to carve it out, just because of a historical use would be spot zoning. So,
well, okay, I'm just considering, because some buildings that are included in here are already designated for changes. So it will be interesting in the public hearing, as long as everyone is informed, to hear them come forward, because future plans might have to be adjusted.
correct. Good point. All right, anything else before we move on? Well, I would like to thank the members of the commission that came tonight and mayor rights, and we will undoubtedly see you again next month. All right, on the agenda, we're going to move all the way to 8. Continued public hearings. Let's see now. 8.1 is the Lakeside Avenue Tower Hill Tavern. It's continued to May 4th at the city's request this time.
Yes, sir. We are trying to get a contract signed with the sound engineer so that we can come up with a proposal to manage the situation up there.
Okay, well,
We
that
haven't been
sounds
able
like
to do that yet.
it's worth waiting for.
Yes, it is.
Definitely. We don't have to take any action other than to continue it.
You need to
Do
vote
you-
to continue it. Yes, sir.
We do need to take a vote. All right,
Yes,
because
sir.
it was noticed. All right, then. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion that we extend the
Okay. Before you
Lakeside- I'm
do that, Counselor, sorry.
No, that's okay.
The applicant is on the Zoom. I don't know if you want to
Oh,
hear from Mr. Santagate or,
oh, sure. I'm sorry. I guess I expected that he wouldn't be. Go ahead, Mr. Santagate. How are you? Is he on there, Rob?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me now?
Oh, hello.
Hi, this is Megan Doftis. I'm standing in for Anthony Santagate tonight.
Okay,
How's it? Everybody doing?
we're great. So
Great.
we're under the impression that this matter is going to be taken up at the May 4th meeting. Does the applicant agree with that?
We do agree with that. I wanted, if you were curious, I wanted to let you know the things that we have done since the last continuance was requested, just to kind of update you and show progress. But that's up to you.
Sure. Sure. No,
All right.
that's fine.
Well, since the last time, we have put in 2 split ACs. We've mounted the primary AC. We've put all the condensers in place, painted the ductwork, and it's ready to go up. And we spoke with Eric Reuter to confirm the sound analyzation for the end of the month. He said it's a go and that the city is going to set the appointment to take care of it. So we're
Okay.
moving along. It should be done here in the next couple weeks as far as all the AC and the double door system. And then
Okay.
just need the inspection.
Okay, well, you'll be cutting it kind of close in May, won't you, for Bike Week at least? So, let's
But it'll
hope
be
all
done
let's hope all our ducks are in a row, Megan.
literally and figuratively. I agree.
Yes, indeed, and park side by side. All right,
Absolutely.
thank you for that update, please.
All right.
we'll
Thank you so much.
hear from you guys next month. Thank you.
Wonderful.
So, we need a motion to continue this matter to the May meeting.
It's been done.
Was there a motion?
I'll
I didn't hear.
second Bruce's motion.
Okay, that's right. Bruce was in the middle. That's where we were. Yes, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? May we have a roll call, please?
Before you vote, Mr. Chairman, Mike Delvecchio has arrived, so one of the alternates needs to step down, which is your choice.
Okay. Ms. Hodgkins, would you care to, you're free to participate in the discussion and everything, you just don't have a vote. If
That's
you're
fine,
sitting
that's
as an
fine.
alternate. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, Michael. Good to have you aboard. All right, so motion made and seconded.
Ready?
Roll call, please.
Bruce Cheney,
Yes?
Mike Dellavecchio,
Favor.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Biati,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Motion carries and the matter will be on the agenda for next month. Thank you very much. 8.2, revocation of 05006 SU, 05007 CUP. It's a wetland conditional use permit. This is a Bossy property, New Hope Drive. It was a previously approved 22 lot subdivision. The approval expired and a different plan is to be proposed. Is the applicant present? Or the applicant's representative?
Applicant's representative and the applicant are both present, Mr. Chair. This is Attorney Ethan Wood with Normandin, Chaney, and O'Neill representing the Bossies.
Good evening, sir. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Applicants have no objection to the revocation of this site plan.
Okay. Is that the only business that we have to do on that property tonight?
No, we have another application later, but for the revocation,
So this docket number item is the actual revocation of the 2007 CUP. Notice of action, I should say.
correct.
Correct? All right. All right, so may I have a motion then, please? This is to revoke a prior approval. It's going back to the drawing board.
I'll make a motion. Revocation of 05 006 SU and 05007 CUP.
Motion made by Chief Biati. Is there a second?
I'll second.
that.
Multiple seconds. Any discussion? Sensing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Delavecchio,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Beatty,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Motion carries, and the matter will be taken up in the future. I guess coming up soon. All right, 9.1. PL 2021-0024 SP and 0025 CUP. It's an auto dealership at 142 Main Street. Proposal to sell used cars. Is there an applicant or an applicant's representative present?
If the applicant is online, could you please raise your hand to identify yourself?
You know, the little hand raising thing, button. Rob, did you say you think the applicant is online? Or
Yes,
were we
he's,
just-
I have to, he's getting
got
there.
it. Okay.
Hello?
Hello. Welcome. Who is this?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Hi, this is Francis Ali from Laconia Oasis at 142 South Main Street in Laconia, New Hampshire.
Good evening, sir.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. So tell us about this. Is this an existing paved area that you're going to repurpose? Is that what's going on here?
It's not existingly paved, but we're proposing, it's already a commercial lot and we're trying to add a, yeah, so you can see that it's from the right side of the building on towards 107 side. We're proposing probably 10 car dealership at that location.
So you're talking about the parcel between the glass company and the convenience store, is that right?
No, not this one next to the building. Glass company is on the front of the store as if you're standing in the store itself.
I see, okay.
This is to the right side towards 106 side, sorry, 107 side.
Okay. All right, is there anything that you would like to add to your presentation this evening?
Dennis, what's your, are you there, Dennis? Can you hear him?
He's on mute.
Can you hear me now? Sorry about that.
Hello, who am I speaking with?
Yeah, my name is Dennis Greenwood and I'm with Francis here. What we're looking to do is remove the grass. If you were facing Route 107, the grass is to the back of the building, I should say. And what we want to do is put in some regrind hot top there. You know, about enough to do 10 cars. We'd be probably 50 feet away from the center line on 107. And we would be to the back of the building. So we'd like to move the dumpster over to the left-hand side of the property. If you were facing the property on 106, we'd put the dumpster on the left-hand side and fence the dumpster in. And keep the grass in between the two buildings. I'm not sure of if you look right here is this square area in the back there. You can see where it's all marked out into a square. That would be the proposed car lot area, where it would be all reprocessed hot top in there for the time being. And then we would put some hot top on there after. We'd like to have some one spotlight downlit onto the vehicle so nobody steals the catalytic converters. They've been having a lot of those problems lately. And that's about it. It's a pretty simple, straightforward plan. So I don't know if you guys have any objections or not.
Well, none so far. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions from members of the board for the applicant or the applicants?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you may proceed.
I went by there today and I was just curious if you were gonna have any access from 106, like customers going by that way to see, or I was just thinking of visibility.
No, they would see the cars. If they were coming up 106, you would see them. But if they were heading towards the center of town, they would not see any of the cars. They'd have to be on 107 coming up into, say, Belmont or Gilmington area in order to see the cars, because, the building that's there now, the store actually protrudes past the cars that are there. You know what I mean? You can't see them unless you were coming up 107. Most of our sales are online. It's not something that you plan on having the public drive by, you know what I mean? If that was the case, you would be on a much busier road, It's just trying to bring in more revenue into the store. We have the gas there, we have all that space, it's empty there, so we're trying to just bring in more revenue.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, this was noticed for a public hearing, so I'm going to call a public hearing open at 7:24 p.m. Is there anyone that would like to be heard, either at the location at City Hall or online?
Mr. Chair, nobody has indicated online or in person at City Hall that they wish to speak for or against the application.
All right, anybody, any members of the public, any abutters? All right, well, hearing none, then I guess I'll call the public hearing close at 7:25 p.m. and ask Mr. Trefethan for a staff report on it.
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. It's already in a commercial district. They are already servicing, vehicles from the standpoint of fuel sales, and they have the store. They are limiting the number of vehicles that they will have on the lot to 10. And they have also agreed that all the vehicles that will be on display will be inspected. They obviously won't be registered, but they will be inspected. So we won't have the situation that we have at a few other garages where starts becoming more than just a sales lot.
Understood. All right. Anything else? Any questions for staff from members of the board? All right. Any other comments or questions? If not, the chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve PL 2021-0024 SP and 0025 CUP, along with the staff recommendations in Roman numeral 1 and 2.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Sensing none, would ask for a call of the roll, please, Ms. Graham.
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Delvecchio,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Biati,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. It passes unanimously. Good luck. And God bless.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much,
Thank you
all
for your
board
help.
members. We appreciate your help. Thank you.
All right, moving along, we're at, well, that, we should put that right here. Okay. PL 2021-0026 SU, 82 New Hope Drive and 122 Hillcrest Drive. I hope Attorney Wood didn't get too far away. Proposal for a boundary line adjustment between the two lots and subdivide the remainder into two lots. And of course, a waiver request for sidewalks. Is there, the applicant's representative or the applicant wish to be heard?
Yes, he does. Before you do that, you need to vote to accept this application.
Oh, is it in order and ready for acceptance by the board?
Yes, it is.
Motion from someone, please? To
I'll
accept.
make a
the
motion to accept.
Motion
Uh,
made by the chief. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? Sensing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Delavecchia, Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Beatty,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. All right, the matter has been accepted and we will hear from the applicant, Attorney Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name again is Ethan Wood. I'm with Normandin, Cheney and O'Neill, and I represent the Bossies who are here with me tonight. And what you see on your screen is the proposal. Clearly, the red is the New Hope Drive, which is a private way right now. The yellow is the current Bossy lot plus an additional area that brings it into compliance with the 2-acre zoning requirement. And then the section in blue on the south or bottom side of the map is the part that would be added to the Bossy's son's property. And again, we would anticipate that that would be merged with the existing lot.
Okay. Is this plan, was this in the plan set that we got? Hang on a second. Find that tab. Yeah, I don't remember seeing this one. Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant regarding this subdivision? It's subdivision and a boundary line, right? Let me go back to my,
That's correct, in that the boundary line with the Bossy's son property is going to be extended, which will be the blue area on this map.
Yeah.
And then the subdivision as far as the rest of the land goes.
okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, well, let's open it up for a public hearing then. At 7:31 PM. Are there any abutters or members of the public that wish to be heard on this application? Any abutters, members of the public?
If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand online so you can be identified. Mr. Chair, nobody has identified themselves online that they wish to speak for or against the application, and nobody in person at City Hall has come forward to speak for or against the application.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I'll declare the public hearing then closed at 7:32 PM. And we'll hear from staff, please.
So as we did earlier this morning, by revoking the previous subdivision approval, this area of land has gone from 22 potential lots to essentially 2 lots under this plan, with a portion of the land being merged into a lot off of Hillcrest Drive. As Attorney Wood mentioned, New Hope Drive is a private road. The proposal is to extend the road into the property, create a hammerhead that allows fire and DPW to turn around if they need to. Currently, New Hope Drive is somewhat maintained by the city, i.e. that they have been doing some plowing and they occasionally do some grading, although, and the plan is to keep the road as an emergency lane, although everyone on New Hope Drive and the applicants understand that the designation as an emergency lane could be eliminated by the city council at any point in time if they so desire. But the road would continue to be a private road. The extension would be private. And the net result here is that there would be 2 lots. What you see in the yellow and the rest of it is what you see in the brownish gold. There are some considerable wetlands out there, which would have been problematic with a large subdivision of a large number of lots, but really become not anywhere near as important. I mean, they are still important, don't get me wrong, but they don't become important in terms of development. There's plenty of upland land on this property for someone to use the property for an additional household.
Regarding the sidewalk waiver, do either of these properties front on any public road?
There are no properties on it that front a public road other than the 2 at the right at White Oaks Road that front both the New Hope and White Oaks. There are no sidewalks in that area on White Oak, and there are no sidewalks currently on the existing part of New Hope Drive.
What about Hillcrest?
No, there are no sidewalks there.
Okay. So what is the justification for the sidewalk waiver other than there are no sidewalks nearby? Anybody?
From planning staff standpoint, we view it as the additional, essentially the creation of one additional lot is not going to create additional need for pedestrian accommodation.
Okay. But we've had this discussion before regarding such waivers, and I think the board discussion about this made clear that the board would prefer that if an applicant is going to request a waiver on the side from the sidewalk requirement, that they state clearly reasons that make their property unique and therefore subject to a waiver. It really, I mean, every property that fronts on a street in the city of Laconia is supposed to have a sidewalk constructed along its perimeter with that. It's the boundary with the public way. Now, 82 New Hope Drive may not be an accepted public way, but I'm hearing that the city plows it. And so it's a gravel road that the city maintains, kinda, sorta. And it's clearly, we don't even have pavement on it, much less sidewalks. Maybe if the city were to improve New Hope Drive or require someone to, then the city could build sidewalks and pave the street, right?
Yes, there's a lot of this there, Mr. Chairman. The
I'm
city has
sorry,
no
I'm
plans
frustrated.
to accept
Yeah.
New Hope Drive. It has no plans to improve New Hope Drive. And for the time being, the working assumption is that the emergency lane designation will continue.
And that just simply means they have to keep it clear in case a fire truck or an ambulance has to get in there, right? That doesn't mean the city has to maintain it, does it?
Correct.
Okay. Any other members of the board wish to make a comment or ask the question of the staff?
Dean, I have a question. Is the gold area, are these all separate lots to be sold now?
No, there'll be all of those lots go away.
Okay.
There'll essentially be two lots. There'll be the yellow lot and then the gold lot.
So I see no need for sidewalks.
Oh, I hear that, Michael. Before you joined us, I think we actually revoked the previous 22 lot subdivision that was supposed to be constructed here. Any other comments regarding the boundary line adjustment and subdivision?
I just have a question to make sure that I'm clear on this. So the large parcel is being divided into the yellow parcel and the gold parcel, and the blue area is being added to the parcel to the south on Hillcrest.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, any other questions? All right, what's the pleasure of the board? You have two motions needed here, one for the waiver and one for the approval for the boundary line adjustment and subdivision.
I have a question, Peter. If we vote for the sidewalk waiver now and somebody comes forward to put in houses in there, does that mean no sidewalks at all?
No, at that point in time, if the future owner of the larger portion of the land was to come through with some type of a subdivision, at that point in time, we would reevaluate the situation concerning the sidewalks. The original subdivision plan from 12 years ago would have upgraded all of New Hope Drive and would have done those kinds of things. But without obviously 21 lots to sell, that becomes a very difficult thing to do.
Expensive, you mean? Any other comments? Questions? All right, well, why don't we take up the approval first? Do we have a motion to approve the boundary line adjustment and subdivision of this property into two lots?
I'll make a motion for the boundary line adjustment and the subdivision for PL 2021-0026SU 82 New Hope Drive and 122 Hillcrest.
There's a motion from the chief. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. McNeil. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Sensing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Delvecchio,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Biatti,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. The motion passes. Now the motion that would be pending is regarding the waiver of the sidewalk requirement. Does anyone care to make such a motion?
I'll make a motion for sidewalk waiver for PL 2021-0026SU the 82 New Hope Drive, 122 Hillcrest.
Thank you, Chief Beatty. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Mr. Belleville. Any discussion on this motion? Sensing none, we'll ask for a call to roll,
Bruce Cheney,
please.
Yes.
Mike Delvecchio,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Kirk Beatty,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
No. Motion carries. Congratulations. All right, moving along. 9.3 PL 2021-0027 SU. 23 Summit Avenue. It's a proposal to subdivide one lot into two and a sidewalk waiver. Is the applicant present?
They're logging in now.
Okey doke.
Good afternoon, board. I'm Greg Kabelski, and my brother Todd Kabelski is on as well. My brother and I and our wives own the lot, and we like to subdivide that. I can give you more detail, but just introductions.
Okay. I didn't really hear much of that.
I can speak up. I'm sorry. My name's Greg Kabelski. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
No worries. Sorry. Need to sit up a little bit sometimes. Myself and my brother Todd are on today. We own this lot. We bought it from our parents last year. We've been a resident there as a family for 21 years. And we're looking to split the 47,000 square foot lot into two 23,500 square foot lots. There's sewer currently on the lots today. We are proposing to bring down water from 11B Endicott Street, 400 feet down to the middle of the second lot, as well as adding a hydrant to the bottom of that. And, we'll meet all setbacks and height requirements, as well as, go through the processes of, and making sure there's enough green space based on the two houses we'll build in the new divided lots.
All right, thank you. Would you like to be heard regarding the sidewalk waiver?
Sure. Currently there's no sidewalks on our on Summit Ave. There's some sporadic pieces of lots that have extra driveway, but no driveway coming from Endicott Street, where it's a main road coming into Summit. There's really no pedestrian traffic that walks down that part of the street. Governor's Island on the other side and has a different issue, but not on Summit Ave itself.
So this is the access or the approach to the Governor's Island Bridge Summit, isn't it?
That's correct, sir.
Correct, yeah.
And we're talking about a property on the corner of Summit and 11B?
It's actually down about two properties down. So it's on the right-hand side of Summit. So if you come off 11B, there is a house on the corner, then there's a house before ours. And we're the second to last house before you go to the bridge.
All right. Thank you very much.
I have a quick question. I'm looking at I guess Google Maps shot of this, and I don't know whether the aerial is old or not, but the footprint of the building in the plan looks a lot smaller than what I'm seeing. Has part of that structure been taken down, or is there a plan to take part of it down?
So we'll take down the entire structure and have the two houses on each side of the lot. So that structure you actually see that hasn't changed in years. So there's three structures on the lot today. Two are connected. There's an old cottage that is part of the main house has been connected. Then there is a cabin that is, if you can look at the lot today, there's a cabin down closer to the water that we use as storage that we're going to later on request for an ADU at some point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Go ahead.
I actually went down there this morning, and it seems like there is a lot of attempt to make sidewalks. On the right-hand side, one of the owners had a nice paved stone. It looked like quite some length. And then on the left-hand side, it looked like a brand new sidewalk there. And I was coming from Endicott Street, so I'm pretty certain I had the right area.
No, you do. So that our neighbor to our, would be to, if you're looking at the lake, I guess would be to our left. He built his house. I don't think he has an occupancy permit for that house yet, but he has done some work there on his driveway and heated that driveway as well as put a walkway there. Across the street, there was some work done recently. There's a house redone. And that house, there's no sidewalk in front of that house, but they were as a requirement, I guess, to put a sidewalk on the further side towards a bridge for them, but nothing in front of their house or nor on either side. Like I'm going towards Endicott Street from our house, on either side of the street is there a sidewalk today.
All right, any follow-up?
Yeah, I guess I really was hoping that there would be a sidewalk only because I felt that that road was really narrow.
Yeah.
But you know how much pedestrian traffic you get, so.
Yeah, we've been there for 20 years, 21 years now, and there's not a lot because you're not getting down there. If you get, again, you get to the bridge side, there's a lot of people walking around the island, but not on Summit Street itself.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else from the board have any questions for the applicant? All right then, is this application ready for acceptance?
Yes, it is.
Would anyone care to make a motion to accept this application?
I'll make a motion to accept the application PL 2021-0027 SU 23 Summit Ave.
Thank you, Chief. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. Motion made and seconded. May we have any further discussion? All right then, may we have roll call, please?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Delvecchio,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Biati,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie, Stacy,
Sorry, no.
The motion to accept.
and Peter
Sorry.
Burnett.
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. Is that everyone?
Yep.
All right, so the motion has been, the application has been accepted by the board. Let's take up the approval.
Public hearing, please.
Oh, sorry, public hearing at 7:50 PM. Are there any abutters or members of the public that wish to be heard regarding the 23 Summit Avenue?
Mr. Chair, nobody is logged into the Zoom application or present at City Hall at this time to speak for or against the application.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. Sensing there is no public input, we'll close the public hearing at 7:51 PM and ask for the staff report.
Yeah, staff recommends approval for this. This is a simple subdivision. They've already received approval from the Heritage Commission for their demolition permit. The sewer is already on the property. They are at their expense extending the water service, which eventually will become available for other people on the street to either use or extend if they so desire. They did go to the zoning board for variance for their shoreland frontage, although they are far above minimum lot size requirements in this zone. There is a requirement that new lots along the shorefront have a certain amount of shoreline frontage, and they were slightly short of that, so they did get the variance for that. I do understand the discussion and the comments concerning the sidewalk, and this is something that we're trying to work in the background. It's not a simple matter, as we're all very aware of. And it is going to take a little bit of time to work through what the city's policy should be. Hopefully we can get that done in a relatively quick time frame, but in the meantime, these issues are going to obviously continue to come up, and the board will use their best judgment. Other than that issue, I believe that everything here is pretty straightforward, and the applicants have been working on this for quite some time and have really gone the extra mile, in my opinion, to make this work.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Dean? So I have a question, I guess. Of course. You're saying that we need to work out what the city's policy is. Wouldn't the ordinance be a statement of the city's policy?
The requirement for sidewalks is in our site plan subdivision regulations, which you 100% control. And that is the, that is the current statement in the regulation. So I'm not disagreeing with that. However, as you have heard recently on other requests concerning the sidewalk waiver in different parts of the city, the Public Works Department has, in some instances, a different opinion as to their value and to their prospective costs to the city in terms of maintenance, primarily winter maintenance. So that's the policy that needs to be worked out, and it needs to be, it's not just a planning board issue, but rather it's Department of Public Works, it's City Council, it's planning board together. We need to resolve this issue so that we have a working guideline that makes sense for everybody.
I understand that you're in a tough spot when the applicants come in and they've done a lot of work and evidently spent an awful lot of money before they even walk in the door at City Hall. I get that. I understand that. And I am not anti-progress or development. I'm pro-development. But we need to increase the infrastructure in the city. If the city isn't willing to do it, the only way to do it is to have it done piecemeal, applicant by applicant, in accordance with the zoning requirements. Now, in this particular case, it's ironic, the applicant is going to, at the applicant's expense, increase the city and infrastructure by extending the water line to that neighborhood. And as it's been represented, that others will be able to tie into it. And certainly that provides a direct benefit to an applicant that have water on the site. But the purpose of the sidewalk requirement is to encourage a different kind of infrastructure, regardless of who pays for it. So I agree that we need to have some discussions, and I think I agree that Public Works needs to be part and parcel of those discussions. Well, that's my soapbox issue, but this is somewhat it's not an issue that's ever going to go away, because from the standpoint of each individual applicant, it seems unfair to make them build, contribute to the general welfare by adding some feature of infrastructure. I get that, but that's exactly what the law requires. And I think maybe we need to develop what are legitimate criteria for the board to decide whether or not to grant a waiver of the sidewalk requirement. We have no
I think we were supposed to have a subcommittee a while ago on this and it just never happened. So I think we
Are
need to do
you
that.
volunteering?
No, because I hate the word sidewalk ever since we started this.
As I'm understanding it, it doesn't really even come down to us. It's a budgetary issue because if they build it, the city has to pay, the taxpayers have to pay to maintain it. Now, the developer in this case can extend the water line, but the water use from that point on and the service charge from the water department pays for the upkeep of that. Once a developer builds a sidewalk, there is no income from that sidewalk that pays the city to upkeep it. So it's more of a budgetary thing. DPW has to say, we have it in our budget to maintain X number miles of sidewalk. And then we go from there to see how many we have and how many we can add.
Good points.
Mr.
Anyone else?
Chair?
I can make a comment. Is it appropriate or am I not allowed to talk?
Mr.
Mr. Chair?
Sinclair? Yes.
Thank you. I really don't like to hear that Public Works, says, well, this is above our budget and everything. The taxpayers of Laconia don't get a break if their sidewalk in front of their house, whether they put it there or the city put it there, is not plowed in the winter. So somebody's taxes, as far as I know, don't go down and not reduce 5%, 2%, even 1%, because your sidewalks in front of the house, which you may or may not have had to put there, are plowed. And, we've heard complaints in the Weirs about this for a long time, that the sidewalks up there weren't plowed in the winter. And I have to tell you, I was very pleased to see how much they were plowed this year, especially going up the hill on Route 3, never mind down on Lakeside Avenue. So I think if enough people complain, either the money or the staff can be found to plow the sidewalks. And I would think that would also be to maintain the sidewalks. I don't like the fact that somebody that buys property and is putting a house up has to put the sidewalk out there. I always thought that should be a city function. However, you're right, Peter, that's the way the rules are set right now. And until there's enough people like, the current applicant or other people to really make us think about this with the city council, I don't know what's going to be done in the meantime to change that. But I really, the other applicant, it made sense. It was a private road. But you know what? I don't know. Maybe if there's more sidewalks up there on Summit Ave, more people will be actually walking on them. I shudder every time I go up 11B because there's so many places where people are walking on the edge of the road. Never mind what we see on Weirs Boulevard. Weirs Boulevard all the time. So
Well,
I'm going to
11B
vote
is,
no on that just for that.
11B
Sorry.
is a state highway, and we are told that we can't construct sidewalks on.
No, but they did that going up on 3, didn't they? So
Yes, they most certainly did.
Yeah. So somebody seems to get it done when they want to get it done. Maybe with all this infrastructure money that people are talking about, maybe the city can apply for some money from that to help get this thing taken care of. So we're not doing this every time.
All right. Well, that's a good thought. Does anyone else wish to be heard on this issue?
Yeah,
All right.
just a question for Greg. The sidewalk that I mentioned on the other side of the street, did you see that get maintained at all this winter?
I didn't see it get maintained at all. What I was going to say too is what's interesting about the sidewalks is that there's even those that are on those side of the streets. I don't know if you had a chance to walk them. They're not normal sidewalks, right? So they're kind of just, there's no structural, in front of the house, that nice house that's right next to ours is very clean. But once you get past that, it just starts winding between trees, and to maintain that would be hard. But it's more of a question of, because I'm not opposed to sidewalks at all. I actually, in 11B, I agree with everybody. It's very unsafe. Wish we could solve that. But there's no continuity on how those sidewalks are on either side, and they weren't maintained at all, to your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Stacy, I live in that neighborhood, and those aren't plowed or maintained at all.
I'm sorry, what?
I live down in that neighborhood. We walk in that area frequently, and those aren't plowed in the winter at all.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, what is the pleasure of the board? We'll start with the approval.
I'll make a motion to approve application PL 2021-0027 SU for 23 Summit Ave.
There's a motion by,
I'll second that.
oh, okay, there we go. All right. Sorry about that. Motion made and second. Any discussion?
Mr.
I'm
Chair, I'm
sensing none. May-
confused what we're voting on right now. Is it for the waiver for the sidewalk?
No, this is for the approval of the subdivision. Any other questions or discussion? All right, sensing none, may we have a call the roll, please?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Dellavecchia,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes,
Kirk Piatti,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Motion carries. Now we have the business of the waiver.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the waiver for PL 2021 -0027 SU. Summit
I'll
Ave.
second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
yeah, Peter, I'd like to just make one more statement if I could. I obviously don't know how this vote's gonna go, but should the waiver be denied, I would strongly love to see the applicant try to get on the agenda at a city council meeting, and I'm not trying to throw work towards Councilor Cheney or the rest of the councilors, but somebody's got to tackle this. It seems like it's a planning board thing when really it's a city, I think it's a city council thing or a city manager thing that should be pushing this along a lot faster than, I mean, I don't even like the idea that we're going to get a subcommittee on this thing. This thing's been going on too long. So if it is denied, I would encourage the applicant to say, well, I'm just going to go to the city council and make a stink there. And I would encourage that to happen. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion on the motion to grant the sidewalk waiver? Sensing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Bruce Cheney,
No.
Mike Dellavecchia,
No.
Charlie St. Clair, Charlie,
Sorry, no.
Kirk Piatti,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
No.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
No. All right, I wasn't counting heads here. I suppose I should have.
That's 5 noes, 4 yeses, Peter.
What was that?
5 noes and 4 yeses.
I'm in.
All right, so the waiver fails. But the application is approved. All right. Thank you very much.
Give your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We have one item that is only on for application acceptance, I believe, PL 2021-0117 SP. First Amendment, or Amendment 1, 645 Union Ave. Proposal to construct a 15,000 plus square foot paved parking lot for employee use. And this is Canton Chevrolet. Is the applicant here, wish to be heard?
No, the applicant is not here. The application is ready to be accepted, though.
Okay, any discussion on the recommendation? All right, could we have a motion then to accept the application? Which means, of course, it would be scheduled for a public hearing at the next meeting.
I'll make a
Ready?
motion to accept application PL 2021-0117 SP Amendment 1 for 645 Union Ave for the proposal to construct a parking lot.
Thank you, Ms. Jenna. Is there a second?
Second,
All right, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, then, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Dellavecchia,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
yes,
Eric Biati,
Yes,
Rich McNeil,
Yes,
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. All right, the application has been accepted and it will be scheduled for public hearing at the next meeting. Is there any new business to come before the board this evening? I don't see that we have any old business. The table was
Yes,
clean,
Mr.
I
Chair, I
guess.
would like to speak for a moment.
Okay, is this new business or old
Old
business?
business.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, last month, a member of another board was watching on Zoom and I spoke to him like a week after the meeting. They said, don't you get tired of losing 8-1? And I said, well, it is what it is. And after I thought about it for a while, I felt I didn't lose because I tried to do the right thing for the city. All of Laconia lost on that vote. All tourists that come here to visit, anybody that drives from other towns and drives through the city has lost. The zoning board needs 5 good reasons to apply an exemption or a waiver, to grant an exemption or waiver. And I even felt sorry for Tom Canton as he's up there talking about how it's going to ruin his cars if the trees are planted there. But his refusal to plant trees somewhere else along Union Avenue is good enough reason to deny his application for a waiver. If there's any other board members that feel trees are not making Union Avenue more attractive, please tell me, explain it to me right now, please.
So what would you have us do for business?
Too
then?
late. It's already, it's water under the bridge, but every time we have an opportunity like sidewalks, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good, sometimes they're just no good. But trees, I think, are always good. Not in front of Tom Canton's parking lot, but somewhere else down the road. There's several businesses that don't have trees from before the tree ordinance was placed in. We need to improve that street whenever we possibly can. We had the opportunity 3 months ago to say, let's plant some trees somewhere, Tom Canton. You don't want them in front of your lot, put them somewhere else. And nobody seemed to agree with me. And I don't understand why I was 8-1. And please, if somebody could explain to me why they feel it's not a good thing, tell me now.
Mike, I'll address that.
Thank you.
As far as the Canton project went, it's not so much that trees aren't a good thing, but it's counterproductive for the business that he's doing. And in lieu of trees, he is planting those yew shrubs along there. So there will be some form of vegetation. It just won't damage or prohibit people from looking at his business.
Well, and I think I hear what Michael is saying loud and clear. It's similar to the waiver issue regarding the sidewalks. It's all about infrastructure. And the problem is that this board doesn't have any money that isn't appropriated by the city council. And we have some issues that we need to look at. Waivers is one, enforcement is another. And both of these things are expensive. If we're going to require, for example, applicants to show good cause before they get a waiver on sidewalks, the city needs to stand to be prepared to connect up these so-called sidewalks to nowhere. And that's a very expensive proposition. So At some point, and whether it's by subcommittee or whether it's an outgrowth of our discussions at the master plan steering committee, something coherent probably needs to be developed to establish what the criteria are and what the goals are. The planning board is supposed to not just enforce the law, but to set land use policy for the city of Laconia. And that certainly does put infrastructure right square on our laps. So I would urge members of the board to think along those lines. We obviously can't meet between meetings to discuss things, but we can always share our thoughts with the staff. And maybe we can actually pull a subcommittee together if there's enough people interested. I think certainly whatever we do, we're going to need the cooperation of the Public Works Department and the City Council, obviously.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Mr. Chair?
Sinclair.
I understand what Mike's saying, and we have these gateway streets throughout the community, not just Union Avenue, but we have Court Street, we have Elm Street, we have Pleasant Street, North Main Street, and I live on North Main Street, and I've got an oak tree growing up through my hedge that I've decided to let grow because it's kind of close to the road, and I just would like to see more trees. But I don't think if I was a property owner on some of these streets, I would be investing in trees because the city puts so much salt out and God knows what else. It normally kills the trees. And I look at the trees that the city puts out on Main Street. They have a very short life. They usually get to a point and they just cut them down because either they're not the right size trees or the salt has got to them and just maligned them so much. But I think, again, this should be a city function to be planting these trees, not necessarily in front of Tom Canton's property, but places where they can be. If the city rejuvenates a street, Union Avenue or something like that, that should be part of the plan. Where can we put a couple trees that would be a tree that would, be able to withstand, maybe oak trees, whatever, something that can withstand the salt that they put out there. And I just think it should be a city function on that. So that's my answer about the tree thing. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I say something?
Certainly.
I would strongly encourage board members to reach out to the Parks and Rec Department. Amy Levisek, the director over there, has done a tremendous amount of research into street trees, into what varieties they should be, and to also the space requirement and the life expectancy of these trees. And also she's done some research on the materials that are put down to prevent ice from Public Works, on what effects that has on the trees, and some protective measures that can be taken for those trees. So I would highly encourage you to reach out to Amy over at Public Works, and she has a plethora of information that you might find useful in making some of these determinations.
I will invite her personally to the next planning board meeting and maybe we can have a discussion. Occurs to me that there's more than just road salt to consider. And it requires care of the trees, and that falls upon Parks and Rec. So they do an excellent job within their budget, I have to say. The flowers downtown and everything look beautiful. But this has got to be, this is bigger than just the city. This is the future of the city. This is for the infrastructure that we promote and build today is intended to help those who come after us. So is there anything else on this topic? Thank you, Mr. Dellavecchia, for bringing that up.
I like that last
right.
sentence, Peter. Well spoken. What we do today is for future generations. Very good.
Yeah, and I think in fairness to these applicants, we need criteria. They need to know when they walk into the planning department, this is what you're going to have to convince the board if you want a waiver of something. that's what I mean by criteria. What do you tick them off like they do with the zoning board? That's something we can work on. All right, I think it's time for the planning department report, is it not?
It is. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Just want to do a quick recap of the past 12 months. The city's tax year goes from April 1st to March 31st, not to be confused with fiscal year or anything like that, but the tax year. So tax year 2021, which was April 1st of last year through March 31st of this year, which just concluded, was a very strong year. I don't think that should be a surprise to anybody. I know everybody probably realizes that the real estate market has been very robust in the Lakes region this past year or so. But just to put a definitive number on it, we issued building permits totaling more than $44 million in that tax year. When you take out the demolition that has occurred and the building for some nonprofit entities that don't get taxed on their property, like city property, it was just over $39 million that was added to the taxable value of the city just by new construction. And this is in comparison to the previous year to that, so fiscal year 20, which ended on March 31st of 2020, was just under 18 million, so an almost $21 million increase year over year, which is pretty phenomenal. And I will tell you, here we are sitting at April 6th, so we're 6 days into the new tax year, and it's already off to a very strong start. I don't know the exact number, but we're already in the multiple $1 million value already, and we're only at the 6th of April. So who knows how long the real estate market will continue to be as strong as it is, but it is not showing any signs of letting up. Rob and I continue to meet with a number of people who have recently bought properties and are looking to do some major investment in them, or they are looking at other properties that they can do subdivisions and other aspects. So right now the market is very, very strong. The downside, of course, to that is that it is next to impossible for someone to buy a starter home. And if you aren't willing to shell out $350,000 to $400,000 for a medium-sized home, unfortunately, that's what it takes to buy a property these days. So there is a downside to that, but currently anyway, things have been very robust, and by all indications are that will continue, at least for the foreseeable future.
Those are good comments. And I guess I would hasten to point out that there's a very large parcel of developable land that's held by the state of New Hampshire, and we receive not a dime in tax revenues from that. And that is another issue that this board should take an interest in, is what's going to happen up there, the state school property. Have you heard anything? I mean, the bill did not pass to create an authority that would have the legal authority to actually convey property to, just to convey the property out. Now it's in the discretion of the executive branch somewhere.
I mean, the redevelopment commission that has been in existence for about 2.5 years continues. They just had a meeting this week. They are continuing their business. There is a proposal in one of the bills that would give the authority to sell the property to the governor and the executive council. That, of course, is in the process in the House and the Senate. We'll see what happens with that. But by all indications, there's also additional money being proposed for the redevelopment commission to continue their work. So the indication is that their work continues. I attend their meetings on a regular basis. I have been involved in a couple of subcommittees and offline discussions with their consultants on a regular basis. So there is some very good planning that has occurred up there, but you're right, Mr. Chairman, that this is potentially a very important issue for the city.
Is there anything that the planning board should know or do to ensure that the city's interests, the general public's interests are being represented in the decisions that are being made? Because my understanding is this commission made certain recommendations and a bill was passed, and then it all got folded into the omnibus budget bill that was vetoed, right? So the authority was not created. That seems to me to be a sign that somebody wants to leave it up to GNC, which, governing council, I don't see how that's going to be something that the planning board is going to.
I don't know how this is going to play out. It's Concord, so I will leave it at that. It could go either way, and we're monitoring, and until something drastically changes, we're involved and continuing to have a meaningful voice in what potentially could be built up there.
Has this commission been told what the city would like to see happen up there?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, let me rephrase that. We have given them feedback on what their consultants have proposed. We're not telling them what needs to be up there, but rather, whether we agree or disagree with certain aspects, and they have responded very appropriately.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Dean. Any other questions for Mr. Trefethan? All right. I guess that concludes that portion. Liaison reports. Lakes Region Planning Commission. Well, Rob, what did you think?
We talked a lot about flooding.
Most in-depth presentation on flood mapping and floodplains and flood insurance from the chief flood person, I guess, with the state. It was an interesting, a very interesting presentation. Isn't there a planning meeting or training next week?
So that's
Let
May.
me say again. Yeah, OSI 12 to 1. I've got April 15th. Welcome to the board and introduction to land use boards. I don't know if anyone.
No, I think that's May 15th, isn't it, Peter?
Is it?
There's one April and
I have it in the wrong month. Can you imagine that? How embarrassed I would be if I had walked into a Zoom room and nobody was there. Okay. Any other liaison peoples who wish to be heard? We've heard from the Historic District Commission. Anyone? Conservation? Stacy, you're on that, aren't you?
Yes, and I am actually starting to teach conservation members to ask, the applicants that come to see them are usually looking for waivers. And so to prep them, I've started to tell them, ask them if they're gonna ask for a sidewalk waiver, a lighting plan waiver, a landscape waiver, and I'm trying to prep them to show the applicant that sometimes it's not the wisest thing to ask for that waiver. And it's a work in progress.
Yes, it is. A lot of educational opportunities there too. Thank you for that. City Council, Councilman Cheney.
Nothing.
Nothing. let the record show. All right, is there any other business that we could conduct this evening? All right, sensing then, none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made
I'll
by the
second.
chief. Is a second. Any discussion on the motion? Sensing none, may we have the final roll call of the evening, please?
Bruce Cheney,
Yes.
Mike Dellavecchia,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Piatti,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Sarah Jenna,
Yes.
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Can I have a waiver instead of voting?
No.
All right, just put me down as undecided. Yes. All right, thank you all. Have a great night. Thank
Good
you
night.
for your hard work, everyone. And thank you to the staff once again for making this as